In the quiet village of Uku, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, a miracle took place. When Chike was born on a warm Harmattan morning, his arrival shook the village to its core. The midwives who delivered him had barely cut the umbilical cord when their eyes fell upon his face, a face so perfect, so radiant, that it defied all understanding. Their awe quickly turned to gasps, and one by one, they collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The doctor, a seasoned man of science, stumbled back, clutching his chest, and joined the others in death. The cries of the newborn echoed through the room as his mother, Adeobi, and father, Namdi, stared in shock at their son. Somehow, they endured the sight, though it felt as if their hearts might burst. Word spread quickly, and fear gripped the village. What child could wield such power with a mere glance? Elders whispered of curses and divine retribution. Adeobi and Namdi, fearing for their son and their community, made a fateful decision. Chike would never be seen by the outside world. The couple wrapped their son in thick cloth and returned home under the cover of night. There, they crafted a plan to protect their son, and everyone else. Chike would wear dark sunglasses from the moment he could hold his head up. He would never step outside without them, never let the world see the face that could claim lives. As he grew, Chike's parents told him stories of his birth, not as a curse, but as a sign he was destined for something great. Yet, behind their words of encouragement lay a fear they could never hide. Chike's beauty wasn't just a gift. It was a weapon. Chike's childhood was unlike any other. While the children of Uku played in the open fields, their laughter echoing through the village, Chike remained confined within the four walls of his home. His parents took turns teaching him to read, write, and calculate. He devoured books, immersing himself in tales of heroes and adventurers who roamed far and wide. Yet, even in the safety of his home, Chike felt the weight of his isolation. The sunglasses became a part of him, always perched on his small nose. At first, they were too big, sliding down his face as he toddled around. His father adjusted them constantly, muttering reassurances. By the time he turned 7, Chike never removed them, even when alone. His parents' warnings had been clear: the glasses protected everyone, including him. As the years passed, Chike began to notice the peculiar way his parents looked at him. It wasn't just love in their eyes, there was fear too. He caught them whispering late at night, their voices hushed with worry. Once, he overheard his mother saying, "How long can we keep him hidden?" That question haunted him. Chike often stood by the window, peeking through the curtains at the village beyond. He imagined what it would feel like to run freely, to join the other children in their games. His reflection in the glass taunted him, a boy with glasses that hid the truth of who he was. He didn't blame his parents for their rules, but a part of him longed to break free. One day, as he sat reading a story about a brave warrior who saved his people, Chike made a quiet vow. Somehow, he would find a way to live beyond the shadows. He just didn't know how, or at what cost. Chike's secluded life took an unexpected turn on his 12th birthday. The day started quietly, with his mother preparing a small pot of jollof rice and his father gifting him a new book, Tales of the Wise Kings of Igbo Land. As the family sat together, laughter momentarily filled the room. But their joy was interrupted by a knock at the door, a rare occurrence in their isolated home. Adeobi froze, exchanging a worried glance with Namdi. "Who could it be?" she whispered. They weren't expecting visitors, and the villagers rarely ventured near their house. Namdi opened the door cautiously, revealing an elderly man wrapped in a thick, faded agbada. The man's face bore deep lines of wisdom, and his piercing eyes seemed to look through Namdi's soul. "I am Dyke, a traveler and keeper of stories," the man said, his voice low and calm. "I've come seeking the child of destiny." Chike, curious, peeked from behind his mother. The man's gaze fell on him, and he smiled knowingly. "So, it is true," he murmured. "The boy blessed and cursed, by the gods. Adeobi and Namdi tried to usher the man away, but he insisted on speaking. You cannot hide him forever, Chike said. The world will come calling, whether you are ready or not. His beauty is no ordinary thing. It is a sign of great power, and with power comes responsibility. Though his parents dismissed Chike, his words stayed with Chike. That night, as he lay in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that the old man's visit was more than coincidence. Could it be that his life had a purpose greater than mere survival? When Chike turned 14, his parents made a decision that shocked him. He would attend school. St. Peter's Secondary School was a modest institution in the neighboring town of Amagu, a bustling place compared to quiet Uku. The decision wasn't made lightly. Adeobi and Namdi had debated for weeks, weighing the risks against Chike's growing desire for freedom. You need to learn how to live among others, his father said one evening. But remember, you must never remove your glasses. No matter what happens. The day Chike left for school, he felt equal parts excitement and fear. For the first time, he walked among strangers, their curious eyes lingering on his glasses. His heart pounded as he stepped onto the school grounds, the chatter of students filling his ears. He caught snippets of conversation, questions about the weird boy with the sunglasses. The teachers welcomed him warmly, though their smiles faltered as they noticed his perpetual accessory. In his first class, Chike sat at the back, avoiding eye contact. He felt like an outsider, but he reminded himself of his parents' words. This was his chance to learn how to live. By lunchtime, whispers about Chike had spread through the school. Some students mocked him, while others speculated wildly about his glasses. But one girl, a quiet and observant classmate named Amora, approached him with a smile. "Why do you always wear those?" she asked gently. Chike hesitated before answering. "It's complicated." Amora didn't press further. Instead, she offered him her friendship, a small act of kindness that planted a seed of hope in Chike's heart. It didn't take long for Chike to attract the attention of the school bully, Uche. A tall, brash boy with a mean streak, Uche thrived on making others feel small. The mystery surrounding Chike's sunglasses made him an easy target. "Hey, superstar," Uche called one afternoon as Chike walked to class. "Why don't you take those glasses off and show us your face? Or are you hiding something ugly?" Chike ignored him, quickening his pace. But Uche wasn't one to be ignored. He followed Chike, his mocking laughter drawing the attention of other students. "Maybe he's hiding alien eyes," someone joked, and the crowd erupted in laughter. Amora, who was watching from a distance, stepped forward. "Leave him alone, Uche," she said firmly. But Uche wasn't deterred. "What's it to you, Amora? Are you his bodyguard now?" Chike clenched his fists, the urge to retaliate bubbling inside him. But he remembered his parents' warnings. Stay calm. Don't draw attention. He forced himself to walk away, though the humiliation burned deep. That night, as Chike sat alone in his dormitory, he felt a wave of anger and sadness. Why did his beauty have to be a curse? Why couldn't he just be normal? But little did he know, the encounter with Uche was only the beginning. Weeks passed, and Chike tried his best to avoid Uche. But Uche was persistent, finding every opportunity to taunt him. It all came to a head during a heated argument on the school field. Chike had been sitting quietly under a tree when Uche, flanked by his group of followers, approached. "Hey, Mr. Mystery," Uche sneered. "What are you hiding behind those glasses? Are you too scared to face the world?" Chike rose to leave, but Uche blocked his path. The tension in the air was thick as a crowd of students gathered. Amora stood at the edge, watching nervously. "Take them off," Uche demanded, reaching for Chike's face. Chike grabbed Uche's wrist, his voice low and firm. "Don't do this." But Uche was unrelenting. In a swift motion, He snatched the glasses off Chike's face. For a moment, there was silence as everyone stared. Then, like a domino effect, the students began to collapse, fainting one by one. Uche stumbled backward, clutching his chest, his face pale with fear. What are you? Uche gasped before falling to the ground unconscious. Chike quickly retrieved his glasses and put them back on, but the damage was done. The field was littered with unconscious students, and panic spread among those still standing. Amora, who had turned away just in time, approached cautiously. Chike, what just happened? She asked, her voice trembling. Chike shook his head, his heart pounding. I told you. It's complicated. He ran from the field, leaving Amora and the chaos behind. Chike's actions didn't go unnoticed. By the end of the day, he was summoned to the principal's office. Mrs. Nkem, a stern yet fair woman, stared at him with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Chike, can you explain what happened on the field today? She asked, her hands folded neatly on the desk. Chike shifted uncomfortably in his seat. It was an accident, he murmured. An accident. Mrs. Nkem raised an eyebrow. Half the school fainted, and students are claiming it had something to do with your appearance. Chike's silence spoke volumes. Mrs. Nkem leaned forward, her tone softening. Chike, I want to help you, but I need to understand what's going on. Before he could respond, a knock interrupted them. Amora entered, her face serious. Mrs. Nkem, it wasn't Chike's fault, she said firmly. Uche provoked him and took his glasses. None of this would have happened if he'd been left alone. Mrs. Nkem sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. This is bigger than a schoolyard fight, Amora. Something unusual is happening here. She dismissed Chike with a warning. If anything like this happens again, I'll have no choice but to notify the authorities. Be careful, Chike. As Chike left the office, Amora caught up with him. You have to tell me the truth, she said. What's really going on? Chike hesitated before nodding. Meet me tonight. I'll explain everything. That evening, under the cover of darkness, Chike met Amora behind the school dormitory. The air was heavy with the chirping of crickets, and a crescent moon hung low in the sky. Chike hesitated, his heart racing. He had never told anyone outside his family about his secret. Amora stood patiently, her arms crossed. You can trust me, she said softly. I just want to help. Taking a deep breath, Chike began. I was born different. My face, it's not normal. It's so beautiful that it can harm people. My parents told me the doctors and nurses who saw me at birth died instantly. That's why I always wear these sunglasses. To protect others. Amora's eyes widened, but she didn't interrupt. So what happened today? They saw my face, Chike said, his voice barely above a whisper. And it happened again. Amora processed his words, disbelief warring with acceptance. But as she looked at Chike, she realized he was telling the truth. His eyes, even behind the dark lenses, carried a weight of sadness she couldn't ignore. Chike, she said gently, this isn't your fault. You didn't ask for this. But maybe there's a way to control it. Chike shook his head. I don't know how. All I've ever been told is to hide. Amora placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then let's figure it out together. You don't have to face this alone anymore. For the first time in years, Chike felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps his curse didn't have to define him. The incident on the field left the school buzzing with rumors. Some students whispered that Chike was a spirit sent by the gods. Others claimed he was cursed by a witch. Uche, now terrified of Chike, avoided him entirely, but his story spread like wildfire, feeding the frenzy. Despite the commotion, Amora stuck by Chike's side. Together, they began searching for answers, poring over library books and old folklore in the hopes of finding some explanation for his condition. They came across tales of extraordinary beauty being both a blessing and a curse in ancient Igbo myths. One story, in particular, stood out, a legend about a man so beautiful that he could only live among the gods. Do you think this could be connected to you? Amora asked, pointing to the text. Chike frowned. It sounds similar, but what does it mean for me? Their research was interrupted when another student, Kelechi, approached them. You two are always together, he said suspiciously. What are you hiding? Nothing, Amora replied quickly, but Kelechi wasn't convinced. Over the next few days, Kelechi's curiosity grew, and he began following Chike, hoping to uncover the truth. One afternoon, he cornered Chike outside the classroom. I know there's something strange about you, he said. If you don't tell me, I'll find out on my own. Chike's heart sank. The more people pried into his life, the more dangerous it became. He realized he couldn't hide forever, not when the truth was already unraveling around him. News of the fainting incident reached the elders of Uku, who summoned Chike's parents for an urgent meeting. Adeobi and Namdi sat before the council in the village square, surrounded by the ancient baobab trees. The elders, clad in traditional wrappers and adorned with beads, spoke in low, grave tones. The boy's power is too dangerous, one elder said, his voice heavy with concern. If he cannot control it, he will bring ruin to himself and others. We've kept him hidden for as long as we could, Adeobi replied. But he needed to experience the outside world. How else will he learn to live? Another elder shook her head. His beauty is not meant for the world of men. It is a gift from the gods, but also a test. If he cannot master it, it will destroy him and everyone around him. What do you suggest we do? Namdi asked. The eldest of the council, an ancient man named Okoro, leaned forward, his voice barely audible. There is a shrine deep in the forest. It is said that those who seek answers from the spirits of the ancestors may find guidance there. Take the boy. Perhaps the spirits will reveal how he can control his power, or whether he must remain hidden forever. When Chike's parents returned home and relayed the elder's warning, Chike felt a mix of fear and determination. The shrine represented a chance to confront the truth about himself, but it also carried unknown risks. Amora, who overheard their conversation, squeezed his hand. Whatever happens, I'm coming with you. Chike nodded. The path ahead was uncertain, but he knew one thing: the time to face his destiny had come.